Silence, therefore, offers a powerful chance to cultivate emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence involves the ability to identify, understand, and manage our emotions and the emotions of others. By remaining silent, we are not suppressing our feelings, but rather taking the time to process them in a constructive way. Instead of giving in to anger or frustration, we learn to step back, observe our emotions without judgment, and decide the most thoughtful and effective way to handle the situation. This practice of pausing before reacting helps us to become more emotionally intelligent over time, improving not just our ability to respond to disrespect, but also our interactions in other areas of life. Good morning, everyone. Today we explore a theme that is critical in both personal and professional growth: stay quiet after disrespect. In a world where emotions run high and social interactions often become heated, it is easy to react impulsively when faced with disrespect. However, the true strength lies in choosing silence over a hasty reply. Staying quiet in such moments not only preserves our dignity, but also promotes emotional clarity. When we talk about staying quiet after being disrespected, one of the most significant aspects to consider is the power of emotional regulation and self-control. Human beings are naturally emotional creatures, and it's easy to understand why, in moments of disrespect, we might feel compelled to react impulsively. However, taking a moment of silence instead of immediately responding allows us to regain control of our emotions, enabling us to respond thoughtfully rather than reactively. This simple act of silence is not a sign of weakness, rather, it is a deliberate and strategic decision to maintain our emotional composure in the face of adversity. Emotional regulation refers to the ability to manage and respond to emotional experiences in a healthy way. When we feel disrespected, our immediate reaction is often anger, frustration, or hurt, emotions that can cloud our judgment. These emotions, if unchecked, can lead to outbursts or words we might regret later. This is where emotional regulation comes in. By choosing to remain quiet, we create a buffer between the stimulus, the disrespectful behavior, and our response. This pause gives us the time we need to process what has just happened and assess our feelings, rather than allowing our emotions to control us in the heat of the moment. The benefit of staying silent is that it prevents us from being driven by knee-jerk reactions. Reacting immediately can often escalate the situation, leading to an argument, a confrontation, or even more disrespect. It might feel satisfying in the short term to get back at someone, but this type of reaction rarely resolves the underlying issue and often makes things worse. Silence, on the other hand, removes us from the immediate chaos, allowing us to cool down, reflect on the situation, and decide on the most appropriate course of action. In many cases, that course of action is simply choosing not to engage with the disrespect at all. In choosing to stay quiet, we show that we are not controlled by emotions or provoked into unnecessary conflict. Furthermore, emotional regulation through silence also fosters a sense of personal strength and resilience. In moments of disrespect, it can be tempting to prove ourselves, to defend our honor, or to fight back. But true strength lies not in reacting impulsively, but in having the self-awareness to know when silence is more powerful than words. By pausing instead of speaking, we demonstrate to ourselves and others that we are in control of our emotions, and that we don't need to react to every slight or offense. It's a conscious choice to rise above the situation, rather than allowing it to drag us down into negativity and confrontation. In addition, silence offers the opportunity for self-reflection. When we stay quiet, we give ourselves time to assess not just the behavior of the person who disrespected us, but also our own emotions and reactions. This time can be used to evaluate why we are feeling hurt or upset, and whether the situation truly warrants a response. Emotional regulation isn't just about controlling the intensity of our feelings, but also about understanding them and determining whether our reaction is appropriate for the circumstances. This process of introspection allows us to respond in ways that align with our values, ensuring that our actions remain in line with who we truly are, rather than reacting based on temporary emotions. In conclusion, staying quiet after being disrespected is an act of emotional regulation that requires practice and self-discipline. It allows us to maintain our emotional balance, prevent impulsive reactions, and assess situations thoughtfully. The silence we choose is not a passive response, but an empowered decision to regain control of our emotions, ensuring that we act in ways that reflect our true character and values. By practicing this, we cultivate a stronger sense of self and a deeper understanding of how to manage our emotions in the face of adversity. When faced with disrespect, the temptation to react impulsively is often overwhelming. Yet, one of the most powerful responses we can have in such moments is silence. Choosing to stay quiet is not just an avoidance of conflict, it is a deliberate action that communicates a strong message about boundaries. Setting boundaries is an essential part of maintaining healthy relationships, whether personal or professional, and silence can be a powerful nonverbal tool for asserting those boundaries in the face of mistreatment. Sometimes, the most effective way to communicate that certain behaviors are unacceptable is by choosing not to engage. When someone disrespects us, it can feel like an attack on our worth or dignity. Our initial reaction might be to defend ourselves, to retaliate, or to confront the person directly. However, this approach often leads to further escalation. Instead of resolving the conflict, we may end up in a cycle of back and forth where emotions cloud the original issue. By remaining silent, we can avoid getting caught in this negative spiral. Silence allows us to express, through our actions, that we will not tolerate disrespect. We are effectively setting a boundary without engaging in a verbal exchange. The act of staying quiet sends a clear message that we are unwilling to participate in a disrespectful interaction. This can be a much more powerful form of communication than a heated exchange of words. When we stay silent, we avoid the risk of saying something in the heat of the moment that we might regret later. Instead, we create space between ourselves and the disrespectful behavior, signaling that we choose not to lower ourselves to that level of negativity. Our silence is a reflection of our values and self-respect, and it tells the other person that their behavior is not worthy of our engagement. In many cases, staying quiet after disrespect allows us to regain control of the situation. By not reacting impulsively, we are asserting that we are in charge of how we respond to others, rather than letting others dictate how we should feel or behave. Silence is not passive in this context. It is an active choice to protect our emotional well-being and to maintain our sense of self-worth. When we react immediately, we are often responding to the disrespect in a way that allows the other person to control our emotions and the direction of the conversation. By choosing silence, we reclaim that control and maintain our sense of dignity. Furthermore, silence can serve as an indirect form of confrontation that is often more effective than direct conflict. By not responding, we signal to the other person that their behavior is not worthy of our time or attention. It is a nonverbal declaration that their actions have no power over us, and that we choose not to engage with disrespect. This can be especially effective in situations where the disrespect is ongoing or when the person displaying disrespect has a pattern of trying to provoke us. Rather than feeding into that pattern, silence allows us to break the cycle and protect ourselves from further harm. In some situations, staying quiet can also serve as a form of self-preservation. When we are disrespected, especially in public or professional settings, reacting emotionally can lead to further humiliation or damage to our reputation. By choosing silence, we are avoiding the potential for further escalation and protecting our image. Additionally, silence in the face of disrespect provides the opportunity to step back and assess the situation before responding thoughtfully. This not only prevents immediate harm, but also gives us the chance to plan a more effective response, one that can address the disrespect in a more productive and controlled manner. In conclusion, staying quiet in the face of disrespect is one of the most powerful ways to set boundaries. It is an intentional choice that demonstrates self-respect and emotional strength. Rather than responding impulsively, silence allows us to protect our well-being, maintain our dignity, and assert that disrespect is not acceptable. By choosing silence, we communicate that we value ourselves enough not to engage in negativity or confrontation, and we preserve our emotional health while sending a clear message that our boundaries will not be crossed. Staying quiet after being disrespected offers more than just a pause in communication. It provides an invaluable opportunity for self-reflection and personal growth. Often, in the heat of the moment, our emotions drive our actions and reactions, leading us to focus solely on the disrespect itself. However, by choosing to remain silent, we create space to reflect not only on the behavior of the other person, but also on our own emotional state, our values, and how we want to approach future challenges. This reflection is an essential part of personal growth because it encourages us to take responsibility for how we respond to situations and helps us develop a deeper understanding of ourselves. When we choose silence, we momentarily distance ourselves from the emotional intensity of the situation, which allows us to gain perspective. In the absence of an immediate reaction, we can ask ourselves why the disrespect affected us in the way it did. What triggered us? Are there underlying insecurities or past experiences influencing our emotional reaction? This self-awareness is crucial in personal development because it encourages us to examine the root causes of our emotional responses rather than simply reacting to the surface-level event. It gives us the opportunity to explore how our past, our values, and our sense of self-worth impact the way we interpret and respond to mistreatment. Silence, therefore, offers a powerful chance to cultivate emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence involves the ability to identify, understand, and manage our emotions and the emotions of others. By remaining silent, we are not suppressing our feelings, but rather taking the time to process them in a constructive way. Instead of giving in to anger or frustration, we learn to step back, observe our emotions without judgment, and decide the most thoughtful and effective way to handle the situation. This practice of pausing before reacting helps us to become more emotionally intelligent over time, improving not just our ability to respond to disrespect, but also our interactions in other areas of life. Moreover, silence helps us break free from reactive patterns that may limit our growth. When we respond to disrespect immediately, especially with anger or defensiveness, we often fall into a cycle where we feel compelled to continually defend ourselves or prove our worth. This reactive mindset can lead to unnecessary conflicts and can prevent us from thinking critically about how to address future situations more effectively. By choosing silence, we disrupt this cycle and allow ourselves to take a step back, which opens the door to more thoughtful, intentional actions in the future. We begin to understand that we do not need to engage in every conflict or defend ourselves against every slight. This realization is empowering and contributes to our growth as individuals. Another benefit of staying quiet in the face of disrespect is that it gives us the opportunity to learn from the situation. Each experience of disrespect offers valuable insights into how we interact with others and how others perceive us. Instead of reacting impulsively, we can use the silence as a moment to reflect on the other person's behavior. Was their disrespect intentional or unintentional? What might have motivated their actions? This process of reflection allows us to better understand not only the situation at hand, but also how to handle similar situations in the future. Over time, this leads to greater emotional resilience and maturity. In addition, silence helps us build the skill of responding with intention rather than reacting out of habit. By taking the time to reflect before reacting, we develop the ability to respond in ways that align with our values and long-term goals. Whether we choose to address the situation later, let it go entirely, or find a constructive way to communicate our feelings, the choice is more thoughtful and deliberate when we first take the time to reflect. This intentional approach not only improves our handling of conflict, but also enhances our personal growth as we become more adept at managing difficult emotions and navigating challenging interactions with grace and wisdom. In conclusion, staying quiet after disrespect is not just about avoiding confrontation or suppressing feelings. It is an opportunity for self-reflection, personal growth, and emotional development. Through silence, we gain the space to understand our emotional responses, identify patterns that may hinder our growth, and respond with greater thoughtfulness and intention. This practice not only enhances our ability to deal with disrespect, but also contributes to our overall emotional intelligence and resilience, helping us become more mature and self-aware individuals in all aspects of life.